United had the ball, the chances, and even better XG and still lost. This isn't bad luck. That right there is a warning sign. It's a warning sign that we are going to talk about today. So here are 5 things that we learned with Villa winning 2-1 yesterday against Manchester United. Now, one of the first things that we need to talk about is we are going to look at Villa and how they are contending for the title and what Unai Emery has been able to do. And then when we move from there, we'll then go into how United have been one of the best seasons when it comes to chance creation. But we'll also look at how badly we are doing in converting those chances. And then when we move forward, after doing all those things, we're going to look at what we need to do. Who is going to step up? Who is going to be the superstar to step up in place of the likes of Bruno Fernandes? We are going to have to look at it. And then when we look at that situation, we'll then have to move on and talk about Bruno's injury and how that changed the game and how we can go forward with that situation, because it's truly going to be a cold day at Manchester United if we do not have Bruno for 12 weeks. And then finally, maybe we will then wrap up with the likes of Ruben Amorim and how he's producing competitive losses and see if solutions could be found, especially now that players have gone for AFCON and we have some injuries. We are going to talk about all those things. So without further ado, guys, let's get strapped in. Get your tea because I definitely got mine. And as you can see, my voice is a little bit hoarse right now because I have been dealing with a cold. And so if the energy is not as it used to be, so bear with me. But let's get this party started. Let's go. So first things first is Villa, a title contender. They are in that mode and they do not need control when it comes to this situation. They need moments. And that's what we have been seeing from Villa. Villa did not dominate possession. They did control the emotional temperature of the game, by the way. That right there was the way things went today. And Ruben Amorim have already spoke about this. And that is the brilliance of Ruben, because he can see it before the game even starts. Aston Villa controlled the temperature of the game. Whether the pressure to sit in, they sat in. They explode with 2 elite finishes from moments from Morgan Rogers. That right there were 2 elite finishes. Now in the second goal, you might have a situation saying, if it was David Gea, he catches the ball or he palms the ball out. But this is a young goalkeeper and he's still learning his craft. However, we just have to say it. Unai Emery has a trust in these boys that is truly, truly remarkable. And what he has been able to do within the time that he has had them is remarkable. Now, when you look at this situation, yes, it's an ugly win from Aston Villa. But smart win, ugly win, it's a win anyway. Villa's streak continues. The league position can back that up. They are 3rd place, 3 points away from being the top of the Premier League. They are 1 place in behind to Manchester City. And one thing is for sure, they are absolutely contenders to win the Premier League this year. If they continue playing like this manager is the first manager to have 2 consecutive 10-win streak. 10 games win streak for Aston Villa since they started in their disastrous career as Premier League teams. And so we have to give them credit. We have to give them credit, especially because I loved watching Morgan Rogers today. Now, him leaving in the summer, which is what is rumored, is going to absolutely be heartbreaking. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as people make it think. If Unai Emery is staying, I believe Morgan Rogers will give Aston Villa yet another season to see how much he can get and do with Unai Emery and the boys. Now, the second thing about what we learned facing Aston Villa and losing to Aston Villa is Manchester United's chance creation is real. It is so real that we are arguably the top 3 in the Premier League in chance creation, if not the first. However, our chance creator went out with an injury on halftime. We all saw that. My heart skipped a bit when I saw Bruno literally pull his back of his thigh. Now, don't get me wrong, we are going to talk about it in this video, but that is not what we are speaking on in the second opportunity, because this is Manchester United's chance creation is truly real, but the finishing is still not matching up with the efficiency that we create chances. United needed 15 shots and 6. We ended up with 15 shots today and 6 on target. Let's say that again. We end up with 15 shots and 6 on target. And by some XG sets, United were slightly ahead, 1.33 to 1.05. So the story isn't United created nothing. No, it's not. The story is United needed a second goal when they were on top and did not land it. And when I say when they're on top, I'm not talking about when Manchester United scored and were leading in the game, because we never led in this game. We came back to get an equalizer from Matheus Cunha, which was brilliant, by the way. But the key part about the situation is that when we got that equalizer, we were on top of Aston Villa the entire time. You would think that this was Miley Cyrus on that wrecking ball. That's how much we sat on top Aston Villa. Pause. However, we did not get that all-important second goal, and they did. When you don't take strong spells seriously, you gift a team like Villa a route back in. It's crystal clear. And we needed to understand this. This is the difference between playing well and winning well. That right there is the difference. And we need to fix it. And if we can fix it, we get opportunities of climbing up the table. Third, this is the third thing that we learned watching Aston Villa versus Manchester United. One lapse, one superstar finish, United still concede way too easy for where they want to be and where they want to go. We know this. Throughout this season, we have suffered. Every time we give an opposition an opportunity, they score. We give the best opportunities. The conversion rate to shots for Manchester United from opposition is crazy amount. And it's the craziest thing because based on those stats, we should not even be in the top part of the table. United's equalizer came from Matheus Cunha capitalizing on a defensive error that was gotten by Patrick Dogu. We have to give him the credit. He needs the confidence. So let's go praise Patrick Dogu for the job he did in getting us the opportunity for Matheus Cunha to get an equalizer. But bigger than the lesson is the other end. That is where the biggest problem lies. Villa's 2 goals weren't sustained pressure. They were not high quality executions. Sorry, let me repeat that. They were high quality executions, but United's structure absolutely loosened. Let me say this as crystal clear as we can get it. When that first cross came in, and this is the second goal, I believe, I was so pissed off with the intensity that Diego Dalot closed down Yuri Tielemans. If he had closed down Yuri Tielemans quickly, we do not get the ball coming out. We might get a quick corner kick. We might get a goal kick. We might get a throw-in. But we do not get the ball bouncing back to Morgan Rogers in the 18-yard box. And then you also have to look at the 18-yard box. First thing first, Lenny Yoro in the 18-yard box could definitely do with getting closer with Morgan Rogers. Now, this right here, to me, seems like a symptom of him not getting, or him being still being scared of getting close to a player in the box because of what happened last time that he played a full match, the last time that he gave up a penalty. I think those things are still mulling over in his head because 2 of the goals, he could have gotten tighter to Morgan Rogers and it would absolutely put Morgan Rogers off, or he would absolutely be able to get a deflection on the ball. But he didn't do that. And I'm not here to beat the kid over the head. I'm here to just mention it just so he knows that this is something that I have seen and so he can absolutely work on it. Forget about it. Have that goldfish mentality when it comes to defending. You made a mistake at one point. Don't compound that mistake by then being too scared to make another mistake. That right there is where the problem lies. And then the second part of that second goal was Manu Ugarte. As the defensive midfielder, you're not meant to be in the 6-yard box. That is not your position. That is not your position when it comes to defending in the 18-yard box. You are meant to be on the penalty spot or around that edge going forward. The 6-yard box is meant to be the center backs. Now, I know it was a transition that you guys did not expect and you guys were going backwards. However, when you're closing out, that pause, that single pause gave the guy the opportunity to wrap the ball around you. And that right there was also a mistake that we could fix. It was also a mistake that we could fix. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into the situation. I just wanted to point that out because we keep talking about patterns upon patterns, but the games are swinging on concentration. The games, especially for Manchester United, are swinging on our concentration in closing down, concentration in getting tight, concentration in getting into the right position. United's issue isn't always about being outplayed because we can compete with every single team in the Premier League. Our biggest problem is being punished because of that lack of concentration. And that right there is a problem. And we need to solve it as quick as possible. Now, number 4 of the 5 things that we learned against Villa yesterday. Bruno's injury changed the game. And it exposed how thin Manchester United are in leadership and in control. Now, with Bruno, we are already having a huge problem with controlling the game and controlling the ball just because of his what would I say? His will and his aggressive will to find opportunities, his aggressive nature to risk and find openings. And we appreciate Bruno because that is what makes Bruno, Bruno. However, losing him in the game meant that our creativity absolutely went flat. Now, a lot of people are going to open their mouth and say, oh, when Licha came into the pitch, he absolutely showed us what a defensive midfielder looks like. He absolutely showed us what a center midfielder looks like. And Bruno this makes the reason why Bruno and Casemiro is failing in that midfield position. Now, don't get me wrong when I say this. Licha showed us a glimpse of what we already know he had. That's the reason why we have always clamored to see as he can do, if he can be able to do the defensive midfield role that we have wanted because of his ability to turn on the ball, because of his confidence and his calm on the ball. But there's one key thing that people do not understand and people are not realizing. Licha also has problems. He also has holes in his game in the midfield. He's not as fast and he sure cannot cover the spaces that Casemiro can cover, even in a position where Casemiro is 33 years of age. And I'm saying that because that right there, it has to do with experience, it has to do with pace. If Licha had the pace of the likes of, let's say, Ahmad, then I would be like, oh, his true athleticism would be able to cover the lack of experience. However, not having experience and not having the athleticism of Ahmad, the quickness of Mbeumo, that right there is a recipe. It's a recipe of disaster waiting to happen. This is a huge situation for us because Bruno, off a halftime with a potential hamstring injury, is not just losing the creativity. It's losing our heartbeat. It is. And now the question is, can Matheus Cunha step up and create a second heartbeat? Can he do that? Because we bought him from Wolves because of the leadership that he showed, because of his willingness to come and get the ball, because of his willingness to say, step on my back and I'll carry you to the promised land. And even though at Wolves it was not the Premier League, at Wolves was middle of the pack or away from relegation. However, he has that ability. And he showed us in the second half that he had the ability to do that. Now, we did not get as much creativity because of his own style of leading the team is taking the ball on his feet and literally literally dragging the team along by driving through the midfield or driving through the opposition half. And that right there might not be the best thing for the likes of Brian Mbeumo if he comes back, or Benjamin Šeško. It might not be the best thing in that situation. Even Ruben Amorim leaned on the idea that the performance was there, but the results were not. And right there, every single person will always remember the result. And right there, that situation there is a problem for us. Now, when you look at this situation, injuries happen. Top teams can absorb them. But it now shows us that Manchester United don't have enough players who can take on the steering wheel when our boss, our leader, is not in the team. Of course, everybody's going to be like, he would come back next week and he'll be able to step up in that role. Yes, he might be. But Manu is not giving us the amount of creativity and the amount of chances, the big chances created like Bruno is. And that right there is a problem. Now, we also have to give credit because this has opened the doors, opportunities for the likes of Shea Lacey and Jack Fletcher to get their debuts. And I have to say congratulations to you guys. You guys absolutely deserve it. And I hope you can kick on and make Manchester United better than you saw it and than you met it. Now, last but not the least, Ruben Amorim ball is producing competitive losses. Now, he needs solutions and not quotes. Ruben saying, we are a better team. We split your comments. Ruben Amorim saying, we are the better team. I understand that. However, this right here should be a lesson for us. This right here should be a line in the sand, because if we perform the way we performed this game, the way we created chances, the way we moved forward with the ball, the way we had confidence to create chances and compete, even when we were down and even when we were coming with our best two players out of the team, we still created something. Being better for 55 minutes doesn't count if you lose key 5 minute windows. It doesn't. It truly doesn't. Because when you look at Morgan Rodgers' goal, one slip up, a goal. Another slip up, a goal. And in the entirety of that run, 2 opportunities, 5 minutes each, we absolutely lost the battle there. And that right there is the key part. We need to start making sure that we can be consistent. We can keep the intensity up from the minute 1 to the minute 90. And if we do that, we have the team, we have the squad to absolutely compete with every single team in the Premier League. And that right there is crucial. United are living in a margin of phase of the project where one more chance missed, one more transition conceded, one more injury, and you drop points. You drop points immediately. And that right there is a very scary part for the project, especially because we are losing our game changers. It's not even we are losing. We have lost our game changers. Bruno Fernandes might be out for 12 weeks. Ahmad is playing in the AFCON for maybe a month and would not be back if he goes all the way. He would not be back in January. So we could look at maybe late February or middle of February before we see Ahmad again. Same thing with Mbeumo, same thing with Mazraoui. So we have a lot of squad out, and so our squad depth is very thin. And it's so thin that even as the game was finishing, we heard rumors about Joshua Zirkzee going to Roma and that deal advancing. We are hearing rumors that Kobbie Mainoo is going to Napoli and that deal advancing. All those things are problematic for Manchester United if we do not go and be careful on how we attack the January transfer window. We could have a free fall on our hands, and that right there would not bode well for Ruben Amorim, not bode well for Ineos, or not bode well for every player in that dressing room. The next step is turning performances into outcomes. That's coaching, that is squad depth, and that right there is game management. Now, Villa are 3rd at Christmas, United are 17th, and that gap is clinical. It's on the clinical edge. 10 points separate us and Villa. But we still have the entire half of the season to go. And I believe that we are going to be in a better place come the end of the season than Aston Villa. Now, let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that follow button, and subscribe to the channel so you can absolutely tell YouTube that you love what we do here at Pillar Sports. I'll see you guys in the next one. Pardon me for being so hoarse and for me having a lot of congestion, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.